It's the Poojie Podcast, proudly sponsored by Cimarron Golf Club. What is going on, Pooj crew? Thank you for being here for episode 111, the big 1-1-1. And the Jaguars are looking for just one victory this coming Sunday against the Tennessee Titans. We will get into that game shortly. If you're listening on YouTube, thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the page, like the video, comment your thoughts, questions, opinions, all that good stuff. If you're listening on the go, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, whatever else, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. Feel free to go give us a follow on YouTube if you want to check out the video elements of me and my lovely steeds here that come on every week to talk about the lowly Jaguars. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about this week. I'm going to welcome the fellas in here to join us on the podcast. We got GM Big Mooch and GM Leggett here to discuss the terrible Thursday night loss. Not terrible, heartbreaking is the better word for it. Thursday night loss. We've had plenty of time to resonate in it, plenty of time to marinate. And fellas, I just want to ask you thoughts coming off Thursday. Let's say before everything happened this weekend, just initial thoughts on Thursday night's game against the Bengals.
I'll let Sam go first.
I texted all you guys in the group. I was like, same old Jags, right? At the second half when they couldn't score the 1 yard, touchdown to go up 21-0 and put the game away. So, I mean, it's like do everything right, but then you can't finish. Classic Jags this season. So, and sure enough, the second half comes along and Joe Burrow decides he wants to throw the ball a lot more accurately. So, and then obviously we lose. So,
well, here's the deal real quick, Sam. I'm just going to say this. I said this on Twitter during the game. Easier to make adjustments at halftime as the losing team. Don't be surprised if this game gets close, Jags fans. And here's the deal. When you go into halftime and you're the losing team, you obviously have reasons to make adjustments. You're losing the game for a reason. When you're the winning team and you go into the locker room, you're thinking, okay, we're doing everything right. Let's just keep doing what we're doing, not taking into consideration that the team in the other locker room is going to make adjustments to counter what you're doing in the first half. I'm not at all surprised the Bengals came back and made it close. Granted, they're a good team. They have a lot of good talent. Joe Burrow is one of the top 15 quarterbacks in the league, I would say pretty confidently, top 20 if you want to be liberal about it, but top 15 in my opinion about Joe Burrow. And we are not a good enough team to shut teams out. That's the deal. Like there is, when you're playing against the Jaguars, in my opinion, there's no lead that's too insurmountable. 21-0 looks a lot nicer than 14-0. 17-0 looks a lot nicer than 14-0. But at the end of the day, it felt like from the very beginning of the half, it felt like the Bengals were going to scratch and claw their way back into it simply because the Jags are not talented enough. Luke, I want to swing it over to you. Thoughts on Thursday night's game?
Yeah, I will say the first half was pretty electric for Jags fans. Coming up short at that goal line play, I like the play call of going for it. I don't mind it. But I think James Robinson should have gotten the carry. And I think it was an option play for Trevor, and he could have pitched it to James, and maybe it was just a bad decision. He thought since he already ran one in, he thought maybe he could do it again. But then as soon as the second half comes out, I don't know if it's coaching or what. It looks like we didn't have really much energy. I will say in the first half, our defense looked like they were flying around. I mean, it looked like they had some energy going, and it seemed like everything was depleted as soon as things kind of started getting tough, and you can't have that really. So definitely a breakdown in the second half, and we've seen it 2 games in a row now. Definitely need to fix some things.
Well, the J-Rob usage is definitely something I want to get into. But first, about the play call, simply, if you go back and look at the replay of the play call, the nickel corner and the linebacker were unblocked on the outside. J-Rob would not have made it into the end zone. I think it was the right decision to go for the touchdown. I think it was a very bad play call. If you're going to use James Robinson there, go up the middle with him. Maybe even go under shotgun if you're Trevor Lawrence. I know they say we go shotgun or go under center if you have Trevor Lawrence. They said they went shotgun because that's what he's comfortable with. But when you're 2 feet away from the goal line, what advantage does it warrant you to start your quarterback 4 or 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage? Like now he has to get so many extra yards just to score a touchdown. And granted, the Jags stopped Joe Burrow on a quarterback sneak. It is what it is. I would have been much more happy if they just ran a good old-fashioned halfback dive, gave it to James Robinson, ran it up the butt, and just went through the line of scrimmage and made it happen, made the touchdown happen. That touchdown would have looked a lot nicer. But I want to ask you guys this questions real quick about James Robinson. So people are concerned. Are we concerned about James Robinson's usage as far as lack of carries, lack of touches? Is that kind of a general understanding across Jags fans?
I thought he got like a league high percentage of the touches.
This season.
Oh, well, I think his usage is trending upward. It's like the coaching staff didn't watch any of the games last year, and they didn't over the offseason and realize that this guy needs to get the ball. It's kind of ridiculous, but I mean, it's been trending upward. It's like they're slowly catching on that this guy's good. And then, culminating in this last game where he's got I think it was like a 90 to 95%, target share over the other guys. So, especially with Carlos Hyde being a scratch. So, I mean, it's trending upwards, but it's just kind of ridiculous that in week 1, it's just crazy how he only got 6 carries. It's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, but it's been trending upwards. So I'm obviously happy for that, but it's just been a slow grind.
Yeah. Luke, what about you?
I'll say in the last 2 games specifically, he's been used more, but I think it's kind of crazy how we showed we could run the ball with James Robinson against the Cardinals, right down their throat and go score with James Robinson. And then we go for a flea flicker that obviously ended terribly. And then in the second half, we had a nice drive where James Robinson was being used a lot, where he went in and scored at the end. And then again, we stopped using him as much. So it's crazy how 2 drives we show that James Robinson can just run it down their throats, and then we stop doing it.
Okay, so I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at this from a different angle, a half glass full kind of guy. I think the coaches and I think upper management recognizes the talent they have in James Robinson. I don't think the lack of touches or anything like that. Granted, Sam, you mentioned target touch share percentage. Anytime we run the ball, it should be him. Okay, there's no doubt about it. But the lack of touches, I have a pretty positive outlook on because of this. If you're going to go out and win 2 or 3 games this year, maybe 4, there's no reason to run James Robinson 20-plus times a game if you're going to come out 3-14, 4-13. I think us as fans, we're sometimes a little short-sighted looking at the player production, and we say, oh, well, if we ran James Robinson more, we would win more games. Yeah, but using James Robinson as much as it would require for us to win games, that's a lot of wear and tear on his body. And this is what I would consider kind of a throwaway year for the Jaguars. I am more concerned about Trevor Lawrence progressing, Trevor Lawrence making throws. I would rather Trevor Lawrence have 40 pass attempts a game than James Robinson have 20 rush attempts per game. And that's just me. Maybe other people think differently. I would rather watch Trevor Lawrence progress as a rookie because you already know what you have in James Robinson. And then next year, when it comes time for us to maybe put together the pieces, put together some wins, instead of James Robinson coming off a 300 carry season, maybe he's coming off a 175 carry season or a 200 carry season, less wear and tear on his body. He goes into next year a lot fresher, and we've now established Trevor Lawrence as a top quarterback in the league. He's had much more time to progress, much more time to grow and mature because they're allowing him to throw the ball. That's just my opinion on that. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are. I have no problem with the James Robinson lack of usage. I agree full-heartedly he is the guy that would be winning us games, but I also don't know if the usage is worth it given the fact that this team is only a 4 or 5 win team at max.
Yeah, but I mean, at some point, we have to stop the bleeding. It's been 18, 19 games? And then you just look at the Bengals last year, okay? They can't protect Joe Burrow with their tackles. They got him throwing 50 times a game. I mean, eventually, he's going to get hit enough. Do you really want your quarterback, the other team knowing exactly, when you're going to throw it? Obviously, you're going to throw it 50 times a game. Do you really want the pass rush getting to him that much? And especially the lack of protection we had, especially in the earlier games this season. I mean, what are your thoughts on, that? I mean, the fact that you got to give your rookie quarterback some help. Like James Robinson out of the backfield getting, 5 to 10 yards every time he touches the ball seems like it should be, I don't know, scripted in for the rookie quarterback. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is still a rookie. I get that we're trying to, develop him, but it's like, give him some help so he doesn't feel like, and especially I think he felt like this in the earlier games where he feels like it's all on him. He's got to do everything, especially in these earlier games. I mean, I get, trying to limit James Robinson's touches, but it's so early in the season that I think that they personally should be running the ball more. But like you said, that's just one person's opinion.
Luke?
Yeah, I can see what you're saying about James Robinson limiting touches, but I also think Sam's right. We got to stop the bleeding. I mean, the more games we lose, the less fans that show up, the less the players get involved, the less they get excited to go to the games because there's no one going to show up. So, I mean, use James Robinson. You just saw he ran it down their throats. Keep using him. We got to win at least one game here, guys.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And I think week 1 against the Houston Texans was probably the worst scripted game I've ever seen from any coach. You have all offseason to game plan for
So
week 1.
You have Gus Bradley and Doug Marrone, and somehow you make them look good. I don't know. It's just
the worst scripted. I mean, James Robinson with 8 touches total. Trevor Lawrence throwing 51 times. Obviously, things have gotten better. I think that it's apparent that the team has gotten better. But before we jump into the growth and the progress that we've seen, I want to ask you guys about this. DJ Chark's injury obviously happened kind of on a weird, Cam Robinson rolled into him on a play. I think
there were so many plays that game where our own players rolled into each other. It was like, oh my God, can we not injure each other? Can we just take a second and not injure each other?
Cam Robinson, I think he might be out for some time over the next few weeks. I think Walker Little's going to have to step up. DJ Chark goes out with a fractured ankle. He is out indefinitely, which in my opinion, in NFL terms, kind of means out for the season, just for lack of a better term. They're not putting him on short-term IR. They're not putting him on IR. It's not an easy thing to come back to. And I'm bummed about this because I think, and Jacob has mentioned this before, he was excited to see DJ Chark kind of grow with Trevor Lawrence. This is DJ Chark's contract year. This is an opportunity for them to kind of develop some chemistry. And Chark just hasn't been healthy since Trevor Lawrence joined the team. So that opens up the door for Laviska Shenault and obviously Marvin Jones, who's an established veteran receiver here. Jamal Agnew made a play on Thursday, which was a beautiful toe drag swag catch. Is this DJ Chark injury? I want kind of your thoughts on this DJ Chark injury, what it means for development, what it means for his future in Jacksonville, what it means for the future of the receivers here in Jacksonville.
Well, I mean, I never was under the impression that the Jags were going to hold on to him even before he got injured this season, just simply because he's obviously going to demand a lot of money. First of all, because he's a downfield speed receiver, and then just the fact that I'm not sure this coaching staff is 100% sold on him. It seems like he was a third, string guy when the season started. You had Marvin Jones, and then the coaching staff really likes Shenault, and you could hear that from Meyer's comments today during his presser. So it just seems like he's the odd man out. You're going to have to pay him a lot of money. You're going to pay this guy $8 to $10 million a year to be the third string guy. It just didn't make sense to me personally. And the fact that he could probably go somewhere else and, maybe be a better fit or be the number one guy there. So I would never thought he was going to be on the team next year. And then with this injury, it's just I doubt it in general.
Yeah.
It seems like Trevor Lawrence and, what's the guy, Tavon Austin. It seems like they got a better timing and connection than this guy. So it's just kind of ridiculous, but I think it's time for Jags fans to say goodbye. But I said that about CJ Henderson and I regretted it, but now he's gone. So in my opinion, it's contract year. I don't think we're going to pick him up, but
yeah. And there's plenty of landing spots for a guy like DJ Chark. I mean, you look across the NFL, teams without, a number one receiver or even really kind of a top tier number 2 receiver, he's going to land on his feet somewhere. I think it was just extremely bad timing for him. He comes in to a situation with Gardner Minshew and, he does as best as he can, but then a new coaching staff takes over the year of his contract year. and this team has no obligation to him to keep him. So, like, you're already working against the grain in that regard. Like, this team is not indebted to you. They didn't draft you. They didn't scout you. They're taking you on as, like, you know, a member of the team that they are now taking over. But Luke, I want to ask you this about Laviska Shenault. Could this be a slight blessing in disguise to allow us Jags fans or allow Laviska Shenault to maybe step up and kind of take on a bigger role with this team and show that he is a top-tier receiver in this league?
Yeah, not just us Jags fans, but fantasy owners too. I mean, when you take away a target share, just stealer like DJ Chark, now it's basically Marvin Jones, Laviska Shenault, and then some random third receiver that might get like 2 catches a game. But they were already using Laviska and Shenault so much in like random gadget plays, and you saw him throw a bomb downfield from Trevor, closing out. I think it was closing out the second quarter, or maybe it was the third quarter. So I think Laviska is actually going to really benefit from this. I think he's a good receiver. He still shows some like rookie things that he needs to break out in his second year. He's still cleaning it up. But now that he's going to have more targets, I think it's going to be really great for him. And touching on DJ Chark, I do kind of wish the Jags will keep him simply for the fact that he has the talent. He's a good receiver. And how many times have you seen a Jaguar player actively be excited to be in Jacksonville? And he's shown that. And it's like, how can you get rid of that in your locker room when so many guys don't ever even want to come to Jacksonville?
And yeah, no, that's a great point. Like a locker room culture kind of guy. And I also think, as bad as it is to say, him coming, this is exactly what happened with Allen Robinson, where Allen Robinson got injured, tore his ACL, contract year, and the team let him walk because, you know, he was injured. They didn't really get much production out of him. Let's move on from him because he's going to demand a high price tag. This is literally an exact situation. Granted, I would put Allen Robinson over DJ Chark any day of the week. But the situation as far as injury, as far as season goes, very similar.
Right. I don't know. I think Luke hit it on the head though. Whereas like Allen Robinson clearly did not want to be in Jacksonville. Where I didn't even think about this. Or DJ Chark, it seems like he does. You know, he is a kind of a team player. So that is a stark difference. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you offer a guy who doesn't want to play here. Like he's going to sign. I mean, didn't he sign for less in Chicago, Allen Robinson? So it's like. I mean, that's the complete difference, but yeah, what you're saying.
The sad thing is
a lot of similarities. Right.
Very similar. The sad thing is 2 days before Allen Robinson got picked up, not to toot my own horn, I tweeted at him, "Hey, just join the Jaguars. Take $13 million year one to prove it. Take $15 million year two, and then $15 million year three." And then he ended up signing, I think, like a 3-year, $45 million contract. And the breakdown was like spot on as to what I had just tweeted out. Unfortunately, he didn't take it with the Jags. He took it with the Bears because he wanted to go to a better quarterback situation. Yeah, we see how that's worked out because his fantasy value has plummeted, Sam, as you and I were talking about earlier today in our fantasy football trade talks. But to mention DJ Chark and him wanting to be in Jacksonville, I'm curious how much of that want to be in Jacksonville is the fact that we now have Trevor Lawrence. Like, I think people are viewing Trevor Lawrence as this one-dimensional figure that he's putting product on the field. He plays great. He looks good, all that stuff. But I think there's like this 2D type, you know, way around of looking at, okay, free agents are now going to want to come to Jacksonville to catch balls from this guy. He's proving it on the field that he is a leader. He is a captain of this football team. He can deliver the football. He can throw the ball tight spirals and deliver it the right way. I think DJ Chark looks at this situation as, okay, I have a young quarterback that's growing. I come back from this injury. I stay here in Jacksonville, and I continue to develop with Trevor Lawrence. Into the Jaguars' benefit, maybe they get him at a cheaper price tag because he is coming off an injury, and they get the hometown discount because he's been here in Jacksonville for the last 3 or 4 years. I'm just saying, let's move on to another pass catcher real quick. Been with the team for like a week now. Dan Arnold, thoughts on Dan Arnold's production Thursday night? I mean, I'm ecstatic, but I want to hear what you guys think about Dan Arnold and kind of what he was able to do just in a few days of practice, if any, before that Thursday night game.
I think we used our tight ends a lot against Cincinnati. I think 3 tight ends caught a ball. I think Farrell, Hollister, and Dan Arnold all caught a pass. So like 3 tight ends catching a pass in Jacksonville, that's unheard of. But seeing Dan Arnold, that was the fastest I've seen a tight end ever run the ball for the Jaguars in my entire life. So if we can keep that going, I like what he's shown. And he was only there for 4 days prior to playing that game. So he probably knew like go straight, go left, go right. So I don't think he even knew any of the playbook, and he had like 35, 40 yards. So I love it.
Sam, Dan Arnold, is he the tight end we've been waiting for in Jacksonville?
I heard some like stat where it was like yards after the catch, he was like top 3 tight end in Jaguars history. So like, I mean, it's just like, I mean, he could catch it and then he missed some tackles. It's like, oh wow, this is nice. And I think that Trevor Lawrence having that option, that tight end option, like we were talking about, pre-draft, I think is really valuable. And the Jags just completely whiffed. I think they can admit that on the tight end position. And then I saw another stat. It was like Jags are like top 10 in tight end usage. And that was before we got Dan Arnold. So it's just like, okay, if we're going to throw to the tight end, can we have someone that can catch the ball?
And run with the ball. I mean, and actually make athletic plays.
Right? Well, and so you saw him sign Hollister. And I mean, he had a bad first game. And I think that kind of was just like, okay, like, maybe we need to get a couple of these guys. And
I said this during our draft coverage about Kyle Pitts, and if you don't remember, or if you've forgotten, there was a time in the draft process where people were projecting Kyle Pitts to be like a 20 to 25 pick. So he was kind of on our radar for maybe a month of just like, oh, he'll be between 15 and 25. And then he ultimately skyrocketed up to being like a top 10 projection. So he kind of seemed out of our radar. But I say that to say my thought process on tight ends is there's very few guys at tight end position you can go out and draft and know they're going to be a stud tight end, because I think a lot of production in college for tight ends comes from mismatches against college defenses. Like, I'm watching baby Gronk right now. I don't even know his real name on Notre Dame. He puts up numbers against a decimated Florida State team or a weak Syracuse team. Like he's got the athletic mismatch against, average to below average teams. Well, when you translate that to the NFL, now you're going against the top athletes at their position. It's not always going to translate well. We've seen tight ends bust all over the place. I think tight ends, I think the key to a tight end is it just happens. It's just luck. Like you just find the right guy that fits the right scheme, that fits the right quarterback, and they just end up becoming what everyone wants them to be. And I'm not saying that is what Dan Arnold's going to be, but this is the most athletic tight end we've had in Jacksonville in quite some time. And because of that, I'm excited. I'm excited to see him develop the chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. Dan Arnold even came out and said, I'm just excited to be on a team that actually wants me here, which I thought was a pretty big statement. In Carolina, they do have a lot of mouths to feed at the receiver position and running back position, but it's nice to kind of, have a guy step in that says, I want to be here because this team wants me here. They traded for me specifically for me. And who knows what he can become. I was excited to watch him play, and he looks like a wide receiver. He played wide receiver in college. But let's go into the in-game adjustments. We talked about half.
Yeah, one real quick thing on Dan Arnold. You mentioned with the chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if you guys noticed, but it seems like them two are hanging out a lot on the sideline, and then the first day in the field, first day Dan Arnold was out, it seemed like they were talking, kind of building chemistry like that. So it just seems I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they'll cut to the sideline. They're always talking together. They're always working things out. I don't know if anyone else has seen that, but personally, it was just kind of cool to see that chemistry building so quickly between the two. My last
that's
thoughts
good.
About that.
No, it's great. Luke, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably over there trying to ask, what play is this? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to chip this guy or whatever? I mean, he wasn't even there for a full week of practice. So, but anytime you see your quarterback over there talking to the offense, coaching them up and everything, that's good leadership. That's good everything. So I love seeing that. And I will say, I know we're probably going to touch on it later. My favorite meme from earlier this week, because of the news of Urban Meyer, was Urban Meyer can't get this tight end situation under control, and it showed Aaron Hernandez, Tim Tebow, and then the young lady in Ohio.
Oh no.
He's got something for tight ends. last comment real quick about the game, and then we'll get into Urban Meyer, of course. We talked about the Bengals making halftime adjustments. I want to talk about the Jaguars' in-game adjustments. One of you mentioned the Jags came out looking kind of unmotivated or lacking energy in the second half. I will say the Bengals coming down in a minute and 15 seconds and scoring a touchdown in the second half is going to demoralize any defense. The problem is that happened, and then they didn't stop. They didn't change anything. Like, they literally let it keep happening. The Bengals scored on every second half possession they had, and that's inexcusable, especially after they didn't score once in the first half. So my biggest question is, does this team just lack talent, or is it coaching that causes us to be unable to make in-game adjustments? Because after 2 touchdown drives in a row, I feel like you need to be making in-game adjustments. I feel like you should be adapting to what the Bengals are doing, and we don't have a halftime after third and fourth quarter. Why is it that after these touchdowns, we were incapable of making any adjustments? I don't know if it's a talent thing. I don't know if it's a coach thing. I just want y'all's thoughts on that.
I think you basically answered the question yourself. The first half, 0 points. Obviously, the talent was there to hold them to 0 points, and they had better coaching adjustments than we did. So it went from 0 to 24 real quick without a single stop. And they showed in the first half the talent was there to do it, and then in the second half it was all the coaching adjustments, and we just didn't respond.
But so the talent is there to do it at the start of the game, but in-game, like the in-game aspect of it is, okay, like, they're not capable of adapting. Like, they can't adjust depending on what the other team is doing. They can't adapt. Like, yes, I agree with you. They come in with a game plan to stop the Bengals' game plan in the first half, but then to not be – so I'm saying, yes, they're talented at the start of the game, whatever. They're talented players to stick to the game plan that they put before them. But to not be able to adjust even in the slightest in the second half to stop anything, in my opinion, is like, okay, they're talented enough to do some good things on defense, but they're not talented enough to multitask. They're not talented enough to change the scheme or change the coverage or whatever the case is. Sam, your thoughts?
I'm just saying, I think that our defense looks a lot better under defensive coordinator Cullen than it did under the last guy. Can't even remember his name. But I just like Todd Wash, right? I like the pressure that we put on the quarterback. I know that our pass rush is, Smoot is probably our best pass rusher, which is just saying something right now.
Well, it's because they dropped Josh Allen into coverage too much.
Right. And
he's the best at rushing the passer, and they're like, let's use him as a linebacker to cover and let Chase on do it. It doesn't make sense.
I remember when they did that with Josh Allen, like week 1, and they dropped like one of the first plays and he just got bodied. But but I still like how we can, different ways of getting pressure. It seemed like it's working this year. Whereas last year it was just, completely unable to get any pressure on the quarterback. So yeah. I think that worked like the first half really well. We were getting quick passes out, and then we were able to make plays on the ball. But then like the second half, Joe Burrow has a little time in the pocket, you can start dealing it. And so, just completely unable to stop him. Tyson Campbell, again, getting wrecked. But I don't know. I like the fact that we can actually get pressure on the quarterback in different ways, because that's the only way to stop teams with good quarterbacks is to get pressure on them. It doesn't matter how good your coverage is. Yeah,
I think Jihad Ward has played up to standard, up to expectations, if not more. I think he has a high motor. Jihad Ward's been a guy that we've looked at the last few weeks that's played very well. Number 6, which is kind of interesting to look at on the field. But he's played extremely well, and he's a fun guy to watch. And I think ultimately the thing is, the issue with Josh Allen is I'm not sitting here expecting him to go in and sack the quarterback every time, but he's the type of player that makes a quarterback step up in the pocket, which causes problems with the interior defensive line. If you don't have Josh Allen on the edge, then there's no reason for the quarterback to step up in the pocket into a rush. So Josh Allen drops back in coverage. The quarterback just sits back there like, okay, now they have this defensive end guarding a tight end or a running back out of the flats. Like, what is going on here? That's a mismatch all day of the week, every day of the week. Josh Allen, 90% of his snaps need to be towards the quarterback. It's that simple. 90% need to be towards the quarterback. If you want to draw up a scheme where he drops back in coverage, whatever, so be it, go for it. But in my opinion,
Right.
he needs to be at the quarterback every single play just to cause havoc. Not even if he causes a sack, but just make him step up in the pocket. Last thought, secondary coverage, they play very soft. I don't know if this is a talent thing as well. It looked like the Bengals receivers were catching every ball with 2 yards of space, 7 yards down the field. And it looked like the Jags were just hoping to make the tackle, like the first tackle. Like, okay, we'll let you get 6 or 7 yards on the catch, and we'll just hope you don't get anything after the catch. That's definitely a problem. Tyson Campbell and Trey Herndon and so many others are just causing issues there. Cisco hasn't played 1 snap in 2 weeks. I don't know what that's about. Wingard's the only guy on the defense with a takeaway. So that tells you all you need to know there. But Shaquille Griffin, he's doing all right. He's got good coverage. Jamar Chase kind of held in check for the most part, minus being on Tyson Campbell on that nasty, I think it was like a 40-yard completion down the left sideline. But the secondary coverage is something that needs to improve for sure. Just play a little bit tighter. Play tighter coverage and contest some of these 5 or 6 yard passes. So those are my thoughts on the game. And last thought on the game, defensive holding, 3rd and 10, Joe Burrow sacked. Thoughts on that? Did that just completely take the air out of the Jaguars? Did that just kill us? Where we had the turnover.
I thought it looked like a foul. I heard you guys saying it didn't look like a foul. It looked like a hold to me. I mean, he's not even looking at the ball and hands around, the guy's waist. It's just
they never showed the replay but once on the TV. And then the announcer was like, yeah, that's a hold, but it was like, it wasn't the right clip. They weren't showing the right thing. So no one knew what was actually happening. And I was pissed off because I'm like, from what they just showed, that's not a hold. Now, if a hold happened on the play, then so be it. That's fine. I just didn't see the right replay. They weren't showing it on TV, and the announcers were saying nothing about it.
I'll just say it was pretty soft. I mean, in a game-defining situation, it was pretty soft. I've seen way more egregious get less and not even called. So it was pretty soft for a game-defining decision right there.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is that type of play call or that type of penalty in the first quarter goes unnoticed. That type of penalty on a 3rd down with 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter, everyone hangs on to because that's the difference maker. They would have kicked the ball from the 25, 30-yard line back to the Jags. And then in that case, Trevor Lawrence would have had the chance to drive down the field like Joe Burrow did, and then the story would have been Trevor Lawrence leads his team on a game-winning drive, not Joe Burrow leads his team on a game-winning drive. But hindsight,
and then Urban flies back with the team.
And then Urban still has fun with fingers out at the bar. So
no, he wouldn't have done that if we won. He would have flown back for sure. Or do you think he already made his mind up? You think he was like, I'm raging tonight?
I think he was visiting family, but visiting family at the bar.
Yeah, let's get into this because here's the deal. That type of decision to stay in Cincinnati, Shad Khan knew about that. Like, management knew about that. That wasn't a decision that he made on a whim at 11:15 Thursday night. Oh, guys, by the way, go catch the plane. I'll catch another one. I'm just going to hang here. Like, that's the type of decision that has to be run through management or ownership. They knew that was happening, which is exactly why in the apology letter from Shad Khan, he never mentioned anything about him staying there because everyone was aware of him staying there. The whole apology and the whole statement was his actions of the video were inexcusable. But they knew he was going to stay in Cincinnati. And to be honest, the fact that he didn't fly back with the team would have gone under the radar had that video never come out. So I don't like that call that he didn't come back with the team. I don't stand by it. But I also think this was something that ownership and management knew about before he did it.
Okay.
No, yeah, I think it was the fact that he was staying afterwards regardless because he was an Ohio State guy. I'm pretty sure he's from that area anyway, or Columbus or whatever. And
he played at Cincinnati. He played at
so it's like he's from the area or at least knows some people in that area. So I think what he said was he was visiting family. But also in his statement, he was like, yeah, there was just some girls that were dancing over there. Like he didn't have his arm around her or anything like that. He's like, oh yeah, they were just dancing over there. So there's some lies in this statement, but
yeah. And he went to dinner with his grandkids at a restaurant and next door. So he was at dinner with his grandkids. I think that needs to be established. Like,
Oh, really?
he
Yeah.
went to
Okay.
dinner with his family
Where at? Where'd he go?
at a restaurant in Cincinnati.
All right. All right.
But what happened was there was a group, and this came from the people that took the video. There was a group at the bar next door to the restaurant. So it's in a strip mall, restaurant, bar next door. And one of the people from the bar, like from that group, came over and said, "Hey, Urban, I know you're doing dinner with your family. Would you mind coming over after dinner and taking pictures with us? We're all Cincinnati Bearcats. We're, whatever. We want to take pictures with you." The whole reason he went to that bar was after dinner, says goodbye to the grandkids, says whatever. He goes over to that bar just to take pictures with these people at the bar, right? Well, then he said, "Oh, they convinced me to stay and tried to get me out on the dance floor." And then that's where shit hit the fan. That's where things got into trouble. He ends up at the bar. He ends up sitting there. Lil Mama starts trying to grind on him. And then it just becomes a problem with his fingers in places where, only toilet paper should be. And that was the end of it. So it's one of those things where he got caught in the wrong place. Allegedly.
That's all we got on video. Right.
No,
I don't know. He looked pretty blitzed in the picture though.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. What? It was like 6 marks deep.
Yeah, he looked pretty out of it.
How do you go from taking pictures to okay? I just slammed 6 margaritas
Well, he might have been drinking with his family.
with his grandkids.
He's 60 years old. His grandkids are probably 21.
You don't crush out like margaritas, like multiple of them when you're hanging out. I don't know. That's just. I guess maybe he did, but it just seems like weird that he would get hammered with his grandkids. It's obvious that he was crushing beers with these people.
The same day that this happens, his wife tweeted out, "Buddy deserved a night out." Okay, so like the group posted a picture with Urban Meyer, and his wife Shelly on Twitter retweeted the picture and quote tweeted it and said, whatever, heck of a job coaching, have fun in Cincinnati. # Buddy deserved a night out. So his wife was very aware of this happening. She knew he was out. She saw the pictures with his friends at the bar after dinner. So are we to sit here and assume that his wife and him aren't swingers? Like, are we just going to sit here and just assume that that's not a plausible explanation for this?
I don't know how credible it is, but I've heard it's an open relationship thing.
What?
I don't know how credible it is. That was from John, so John doesn't know sports that well. He just said he thinks it's a...
No, but John's the type of guy that doesn't know sports, but he knows in-depth facts like that. He would know something like that.
Yeah, he does his own digging and finds random facts that are true.
That's all I'm saying. But, okay, let's move on from Urban Meyer. Here's the deal. It's okay. These things are mutually exclusive. Urban Meyer's a good coach. Urban Meyer is not a good leader. This incident proved it. He's a good coach. He's not a good leader. And if Mike Mularkey, Doug Marrone, Gus Bradley, Jack Del Rio were the coach of an 0-4 team and this whole situation happened, they would have been fired yesterday. Urban Meyer did not get fired. I think that just further shows how good of a job he's done with this team. Even though they're 0-4, I think, in my opinion, as a Jaguar fan, the team has performed above standard based on the talent on the roster. That's all I'm saying. He should have been fired, and the fact that he wasn't, in my opinion, I think management, ownership is happy with the job he's doing on the field, keeping the team competitive. Is that wrong? No?
Sure.
Okay. We're 0-4, and the teams we've lost to are 11-5 combined. Okay, so it's not like we've had the easiest start. The Houston loss is inexcusable, but we held tough with Denver, 23-13. We were winning with 3 minutes left against Arizona, 19-17. And then we were winning 14-0 at halftime, tied 21-21 at the end of the game in Cincinnati. In my opinion, that's honestly some of the best football I've seen the Jags play in recent memory, just based on the talent they have. So
you and I both know we were at that Denver game. Without that kick return, that game was atrocious, minus the first drive.
Yeah, the game was
was awful. So that first drive was amazing. It's we went 80 yards and scored a touchdown. Anything after that was so bad.
But it's
minus
a
the kick return.
Team sport, and the defenses look good. So that's what we're banking on. The defense has played up to standard outside of Tyson Campbell.
Yeah, it's literally like Joe Burrow decided I'm gonna pick on Tyson Campbell anytime I can, and it worked.
That's all that matters. So
Well, why wouldn't you? You know, Tyson Campbell has, the most allowed yards of any cornerback in primary coverage in the entire league. So it's like would be retarded not to throw to him because he's the worst cornerback in the league right now. So
yeah, you might as well attack him every play, knowing
Right.
Shaquille Griffin's on the other side. Shaquille Griffin's stats should look the best at the end of the season based on the fact that Tyson Campbell's on the other side. Like, no passes should go towards Shaquille Griffin. It's that simple. So,
pretty simple.
So, anything else about Urban Meyer before we move on from either of you?
No, I just think it's funny. He went into the locker room, and I think the players, in my mind, if I'm a player in that locker room, I was like, what? And they all just started laughing. It's like they don't really care. It's just like they're like, oh my, that is. Let's move past it.
If I'm a player, I'm more frustrated that he didn't fly back with the team than the fact that that video came out. And it's completely inexcusable for the head coach to be the biggest distraction on a team when his whole job is to make sure the players aren't throwing like Dante Fowler, Jalen Ramsey, Yannick Ngakoue, Justin Blackman, CJ Henderson. All these guys have had issues in the public spotlight, the public eye. And the fact that none of our players have made any waves, they haven't had any issues in public about, domestic violence or, drunk driving. And then the fact that our coach is the first person in a Jaguars colored shirt or a Jaguar logo to make an embarrassment out of the team, that's inexcusable because now your players are like, dude, we're putting our necks on the line for you every week, and you're going to go out there and paint this organization like that? Like, that is irresponsible, in my opinion.
All right, right. Wait, one real last thing. My roommate Piggy said it, and I just want to see what y'all think. He said that this could be a positive thing, and that all of the players, including the coaches, are going to look back and be like, wow, that 4 weeks was horrible. We don't ever want to go back there. Maybe the team kind of coalesces around this. Just kind of ridiculous when I first heard it, but I mean, maybe we all coalesce around this. We're like, let's go out and never be that bad again. But that's just wishful thinking, in my opinion. But it just was kind of interesting thinking about it. I mean, it's such a bad situation. Like, is there any good that could come out of it? Maybe the team has some chemistry afterwards. Like,
Yeah. No, I like that thought because there's a point with losing where you get tired of it and you want to change things. But if it happens too often, you become complacent with it. So
right.
the Jaguars are at a point where it's like, okay, we're 0-4. We got to go change the tides now. Like, we got to go start winning. We got to go make plays. We got to go change things now because here's the deal. Next 4 games, Titans, Dolphins, Seahawks, Bills. Okay, so I think for the most part, we can kind of maybe chalk 2 losses up there, if not 3. But realistically, Bills, all right, we're fucked. But Seahawks, it is what it is. And what?
We're fucked.
I'm just
you
saying.
think we got a chance against the Bills?
No, you're saying we don't have a chance.
The Seahawks. You think we have a chance against the Seahawks?
No, we don't play against the West Coast teams well.
No, we don't play anything west of the Mississippi. Chalk it up as like a 30-point loss.
Yeah, basically.
That's honestly, Luke. We went to that Dallas game 3 or 4 years ago.
It's down like 8 Coors Light.
We had more Coors Lights than the teams had first downs in points combined.
It was rough.
So here's the deal: Titans on Sunday coming up at 1:00. The Titans coming off maybe one of the worst losses of the NFL season, just behind the Giants beating the Saints. But this, in my opinion, is a worse loss because the Titans are supposedly an established playoff contender, and the Jets are a team coming off the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. So, embarrassing loss for the Titans. They were without Julio Jones, without A.J. Brown, but they still have Derrick Henry, which, in my opinion, Derrick Henry should be able to do it all, especially against a team like the Jets. So, they're coming off a loss to the Jets, and are they going to come in here limping, demoralized, or are the Titans going to come into Jacksonville fired up and ready to bounce back? How are the Titans going to respond? How is Jacksonville going to move on from this viral video incident, Fun with Fingers? And what's going to happen on Sunday, in y'all's opinions? How do we stop Derrick Henry? Sam, I
Well,
want
I
to start
think
with you. You look like you have a
I
lot to
think
say.
our run game has looked really good at like hitting the running back behind the line of scrimmage. If you compare this season to the last 2 or 3 seasons. So, I mean, we get our safeties around the backfield, and then the way to stop Derrick Henry is to stop the momentum before it even starts. So, I think that we'll be better, but I mean, like you said, they're coming off a demoralizing loss. But if we're going to win any of the games, I think in the 4 games that you just mentioned are coming up, I mean, it's got to be this one, right? So I think the players are going to be on board. They're going to be focused, and we'll see how it goes. Is A.J. Brown going to be back this week, or is he still?
I
think
haven't seen any news about him
so.
or Julio Jones.
Right. So, I mean, our secondary is our weakness, right? So the fact that they don't have any wide receivers right now is obviously a positive. The fact they just lost to the Jets. I mean, the Jets could stop Derrick Henry. I think that our run defense has been pretty solid this season, and the Jets are like the worst run defense in the league right now. So I don't know. I see some positives in it, but at the same time, the Jags are going to jag, and we'll see what happens. Just I'll be watching the game, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. I think that this is one of the most winnable games, but the fact that they just came off the loss is not good. So it is what it is.
Luke, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, you've seen that Titans teams, they just collapsed against the Jets, but they also stormed back and beat the Seahawks too. So it's like they have two sides of the Titans over there. It's like they have one of the worst losses, but they also had a major comeback against an actual good team. So you just don't know which side you're going to get. I do think it's a winnable game. But with all the distractions and everything like that, I don't know how well our practice has been this last week. So I think it's winnable, but I don't know. I'm not holding my breath for it. So
Yeah. No, I get that. I think without this Urban Meyer distraction, I'd be a lot more optimistic, to be honest with you, because I feel like over the last 3 weeks since the Broncos game, I will say the defense performed well against the Broncos. I felt like it was an overall decent team effort against the Cardinals. The offense could have done a little bit more. And then against the Bengals, I felt like a lot of things came together. I felt like the offense was clicking. Obviously, no turnovers from Trevor Lawrence. The defense looked great in the first half. I feel like this is the point in the season where, okay, we have a pretty tough opponent, an opponent that's gotten the best of us for a while. But if we all remember, 2 years ago in 2019, Titans come into Jacksonville Thursday Night Football and lay an egg, and the Jaguars dominate on Thursday Night Football. I am kind of hopeful that the Jaguars' home crowd, the divisional aspect of it, the divisional rivalry aspect of it, kind of plays into it a little bit. So I'm hopeful, and I will say this: the line right now is only Titans by 4.5, which is actually not that large of a spread. Like Vegas is kind of thinking this is going to be a little bit closer of a game than many expect. The Jaguars did cover 7.5 against the Bengals, but 4.5 for the Titans, a team that's 2-2 that has Derrick Henry, that's coming off a few playoff runs over the last 2 or 3 years, is a lot closer of a game than I think a lot of people expect this to be. And I do think that we will be able to put up a fight. Simply enough, I think the Titans secondary has not gotten better over the last 2 seasons. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to have some time. We saw Zach Wilson make some throws to Corey Davis, Jamison Crowder in that game against the Titans last week. So overall, outside of the Urban Meyer distraction, I am a little bit optimistic about this game. But to be honest with you, you wouldn't expect this from an 0-4 fan of the Jags. I'm pretty optimistic just about the future of this organization right now because the team does look like it's coming together a lot faster than I expected. So I do like this. The division is still within reach as well. So that is something to say. The Titans currently lead the division at 2-2. So a win here brings us back within 1 game of the Titans, 1-4 versus 2-3. So just something to keep in mind.
yeah, I think our division is wide open. I mean, winning that Cincinnati game would have been huge for us, putting us at 1-3. The Texans are 1-3, and the Colts are 1-3.
Yep.
Yeah, so it would have been huge to take away a win right there. But it's still, the leader is 2-2, and we have them coming home, so it'd be a clutch win for us here too. So,
and that's followed by the Jaguars playing the Dolphins, which I know we'll get to later on. But Jags play the Dolphins in London the following week, so potentially 2 wins coming up if they play right, if they keep their head on straight. I just hope this team hasn't lost faith and can kind of keep the ball rolling forward. Anything else from you guys about Jags Titans?
Yo,
Nothing else?
is Caleb Farley making his first start at cornerback for the Titans this year? I think he might be.
Is that the guy from Virginia Tech?
Yeah, their number one or their first round pick. So that'd be kind of cool to watch him. He was electric in college, so
Could be
very
someone to
athletic.
pick on. Also, I will say this. Looking at the matchup predictor on ESPN, Titans 61.4% chance to win, Jaguars 38.3% chance to win, which is a lot better than I thought they would give us. And going into the Bengals game, Bengals had 64 and the Jaguars had 35.7. So this actually gives us a better chance to beat the Titans than it did to have us beat the Bengals, which is an interesting little tidbit there as well. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? It'll be a fun game. I think anytime the Titans come to town, there's obviously some bad blood. It's one of the best rivalries that the Jaguars have outside of the Steelers. So it'll be fun to watch what happens on Sunday. Let's get into predictions for this game real quick. Jaguars versus Titans. And Luke, we will start with you if you don't mind.
I will say the Jaguars win at home 27-24. Finally get that monkey off their back, and Trevor Lawrence is the best leader on the team, and Urban Meyer gets kicked to the curb.
I like it.
I like it too.
Sam?
I'm going to go 28-26 Titans winning just because till we see him finish, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like this last game. Like, finish the half. And you guys could slack off all you want in the second half, but you can't just go 14. I mean, that's not going to hold anyone. So, I mean, we got to learn how to finish games. Trevor Lawrence balls out, but I think that the Titans will just run the clock out, and Derrick Henry will be able to stop us. Our run defense, though, I mean, the Titans pick on us because our run defense sucks, whereas this year actually looks like we can stop. So that'll be interesting to watch. It'll be fun to watch to see kind of the development of that D-line linebacker core.
Yeah, I agree. And what I will say about this is going into the season, if you would have told me we'd be 0-4 at this point of the season, I would not be excited for this game. But to be honest with you, it feels like Trevor Lawrence is a Band-Aid holding a bullet wound together. And with so much falling apart, I keep coming back to the fact that we have Trevor Lawrence, and I'm just excited to watch him play because it's the first time in a long time we've been excited to watch a franchise quarterback play for the Jags. I'm just excited every Sunday just to watch him play. Even if we lose the game, this wasn't the season for us anyway. We're going to lose games. It is what it is. I'm excited to watch him play. That being said, I'm going to go 27-21 Titans. I do think Derrick Henry is too much to handle all said and done. I'd like to think that the Jaguars' run defense would step up and hold them, but I see 3 touchdowns from Trevor Lawrence, 2 in the air, 1 on the ground. I will say that. 27-21 Titans get the deal done.
Yeah,
but it would be fun if the Jags get the ball at the end of the game to try and march down and win it.
Dude, because when you mention that, I mean, the Titans have one of the worst secondaries in the league, worst pass defenses. So maybe we will see Trevor Lawrence just ball out. That would be sick.
Who knows? I mean, Laviska Shenault, we talked about him earlier. Like, I'm kind of ready to see him run anything other than a bubble screen or a go route. Like, I want to see him maybe go across the middle. He's a big body. Send him across the middle.
I don't know. I think they're gonna slot Tavon Austin in on the other side. Personally, I think Laviska is gonna kind of keep the same role he's had, maybe get a few more targets. But I don't know. I just think they like Tavon Austin on the outside personally. But
I could see that happening. There's a reason they have him on the team after only being with us for like 2 weeks during the preseason. He's obviously shown enough. Let's do this real quick. Let's go through the 3-piece combo meal, which is always fun. Shout out to Matt Morbido for winning. Had 7 of 9 correct last week. Impressive win for him. Jessica Otto, Matt Maynard, and Big Gamer 787. Your stuff is already on the way. It's shipped today. I just took a look at that. Let's go through the games on Sunday real quick. We have Titans at Jags, 1 o'clock. Jets, Falcons at 9:30 a.m. Packers at Bengals at 1. Lions at Vikings, 1 o'clock. Broncos, Steelers, 1 o'clock. Dolphins, Bucks, 1 o'clock. Saints, Washington, 1 o'clock. Eagles, Panthers, 1 o'clock. Patriots, Texans, 1 o'clock. Any of those games stand out as the 1 o'clock Poojie podcast 3-piece combo game?
I would take the Packers and the Bengals.
Packers, Bengals. Sam, what about you?
1 second, I'm taking a look real quick. You mentioned
Packers at Bengals, Lions at Vikings, Broncos at Steelers, Dolphins at Bucks, Saints at Washington, Eagles at Panthers, Patriots at Texans.
Yo, what about that Eagles-Panthers game? Could be interesting. I don't know.
It
It's
could be.
shooting. But I like the Bengals Packers.
Which game?
You're right. You said Bengals Packers, right?
Bengals Packers, yeah.
Let's go with that one.
You guys just shooting. Yeah.
Let's go with that one. And then the 4 o'clock games, we have Bears at Raiders, Browns at Chargers, Giants at Cowboys, Niners at Cardinals.
I think the Browns, Chargers, and also the last one, the Cardinals and the Niners. What was it? The Cardinals-Niners?
Yeah, that Cardinals-Niners game will be cool. You know that the Niners are going to be coming after the only undefeated team in the league. And, I mean,
I think
are the Cardinals...
Do you think I should do 2 4 o'clock games instead of the Green Bay Bengals game?
No, I think Green Bay Bengals, since it's in Cincinnati, will be actually like pretty competitive. Is Trey Lance the starter in San Fran for this week?
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know. Rookie quarterbacks have not done well this season.
But I mean, you know that their head coach is Shanahan's gonna come to play against the Cardinals, and I mean the Cardinals are they really all that? I mean, or are they just playing like the Jags? So I don't know.
I like both those games though. The Browns and the Chargers also a very competitive game.
Yeah, the Browns.
We're gonna go Browns Chargers. That's a 1.5 point spread. Packers Bengals is a 3-point spread, and then Bills at Chiefs is a 2.5 point spread in favor of the Chiefs. So if you want to join in on the contest, check us out on Instagram at the Poojie Podcast. Find us on on Twitter at the Poojie Podcast, and on Facebook, the Poojie Podcast as well. All you got to do is screenshot the post, fill it out with your little drawing application, however you draw and edit pictures, and then post it to your story. Tag us. That way I can get it and screenshot it, and you are automatically entered for free to win either a hat or a shirt of your choice from the Poojie Podcast. Anything else from you fellas before we head out for the evening?
No,
who do they got?
I think that's it.
Who do they got winning the Niners Cardinals game? Obviously the Cardinals.
Cardinals by 5.5.
Yeah.
Right.
Chargers by 1.5.
Yeah, I think the Chargers game is more competitive just simply because a rookie quarterback is playing, so Vegas doesn't like that.
What I will say is Broncos at Steelers. Pittsburgh is is favored by 1. A 1-3 Steelers team is the home favorite against the Broncos. So that's kind of an interesting note there. And any other interesting notes? Nothing else. All right, fellas. Well, I appreciate you being here and doing this. As always, go check us out on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, I appreciate you being here. Go enjoy a fantastic Thursday night football game between the Rams and the Seahawks. That's one of the better Thursday night games we will get. Granted, last weekend's was actually a really good game as well for a casual football fan to watch. But enjoy some Thursday night football. Enjoy some college football action as well. If you're a UCF fan and you're going to be down there, be sure to check out the Moms Drink Free tailgate. That thing's going to be popping off. Our boys on Memory Mall 161, spot 161. Memory Mall is going to be lit for Moms Drink Free. Come find us out there. And as always, go make this world a better place. Until next time, take care.
Keep grinding.
How can I be the man when you're the man? How can I be the man when you're the man? How can I be the man when you're the man?
Keep grinding, guys. Keep grinding.